one they're getting at.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Para OR Normal Guyz. I think I'm live. Hello, Yergs Radio, Right Talk Radio, Rainbow Radio, and Dare Talk Radio. We are live in Australia. We are live in Tampa, and I'm thinking we're live here. I don't really know. So we're just going to hang out for a few minutes and see what happens. I got an email that said I'm live. And I appear to be going out on mix. Let's see if one of my cohorts is back here. Yeah, well, there's trouble. Oh, wrong button. Are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here. Of course I am.
Well, Chris says he can confirm that we are live and he can hear us. So that's good news.
We're live on.
Oh, my God. I hate gremlins. It just went nuts. I don't know. Pamela Hicks says hello, Harley. So she sees us.
Hi, Pam. Yeah, she's from the asylum.
Hi, Pam. Come over and find the Sport Cat shows and subscribe here too, please. I could use another sub or two, especially since everything's going batshit crazy tonight.
Well, my whole day has been like that. I had a Final Destination near close death call today.
Just tell us about it, Harley, because right now I'm ready to punch a kitten.
No, I was walking home and this guy's tire completely broke off his van. Like there was the piece that holds the whole tire, the rim, everything together broke off. And the tire went flying and went right past me and almost hit me and then bounced on the ground several feet behind me.
So when you say right past you, what's right past you? Like we're talking 5 feet, 5 inches, 5
like
yards?
A couple, like a foot right next to me.
A foot? Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
Wow.
It was to the point this guy that was on the street pulls up right by the curb and he starts yelling, "Are you okay? Do we need to call an ambulance?" I was like, it didn't touch me, but yeah, I'm fine. It just went right by me. Scary, but yeah.
Crazy. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. And that we didn't have to put a black ribbon over.
Exactly. That's a piss your pants moment.
It is a piss your pants moment. I agree, Pam. You are correct.
Like all you see is the guy pulling up to the side of the road because the whole side of his van does this number and drops straight to the ground and you hear the metal scraping. So did he get out and say anything or did he? No. Was he trying to figure out where his tire was? No. He was going through the stoplight as the tire just broke off.
Was this like an old jalopy? I mean, like, a painter's van or something? I mean, was it anything?
It just looked like a regular minivan to me.
Oh, so a mom van nearly took you out. Wow. That
mom van almost took out a mom.
That would have been bad. So, well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad it didn't take you out. Or maybe it did. The system glitched and this is alternate you.
The black ribbon would have been made out of tire ribbon. Tire rubber. It's where the rubber meets the road. Well, I told my best friend, I'm not going to say her name, but she lives. Right? Well, I voice messaged her on my way home.
That's okay.
And she's like, have you been messing with the Annabelle doll too? Because you know how the guy who's been doing the tours for the Annabelle doll died. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Have you been messing with the Annabelle doll?" I said,
Out of
"No."
nowhere.
She
Yeah.
said, "Okay, Final Destination right there."
Yeah. We should make a show about this. Yeah, that the Annabelle guy. Yeah, it was a guy. He did. He just suddenly died for no apparent
I
reason.
told her it was the doll. The doll did it. He
I don't
shouldn't have
mess with
been
those
taking that
dolls.
doll. He should not have been
I don't.
taking that doll out of the case, moving it around,
Yeah,
doing anything with that doll. That doll was put
yeah,
in that case for a reason.
yeah. I don't mess with those dolls. That and the one down in the Keys. Oh crap!
That the boy doll,
The boy doll.
Robert.
Yeah, I don't know. He creeps me out. Yeah. So no, I don't mess with the dolls. So
My
no.
husband does not allow any Raggedy Ann dolls in this house at all because of that doll. Exactly, Pamela. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And they said they're not going to cancel the tour of this doll. So now they have to find somebody else who's going to have the balls to go take this doll around.
No, Chris. It's a doll of a sailor that's down in the Keys, and he's
Well,
creepy.
there's the
You should
Robert doll
Google it.
too. The Robert doll's just as creepy, and it's just
That's
as
one of the Keys.
possessed as.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
one
know
you
it was
can't
in the
take.
Keys.
I think it's the one in the Keys. Just search for creepy doll in the Keys. Yeah, if you take its picture without asking its permission, your plane will crash on the way home from the Keys, or something bad happens. It's so yeah. I don't mess with the dolls. And we said that. I think I had an old Raggedy Ann doll, and I think it's still here in Mom's house in the basement. I need to get it and
Well,
send a
when
picture
my
of
niece
you.
was little, um, exactly. But when my
Yeah.
niece was little, her great aunt, it's my husband's daughter, not daughter, my husband's sister's kid.
Your husband's daughter. Wait a minute.
Well, my husband does have a daughter. That's not mine, but that's my daughter. But okay, my husband's niece, her aunt bought her those big, oversized, almost human sized Raggedy Ann dolls that they kept. She bought her one of those. My husband was like, "That thing's not coming in this house because that's even more extra possessed because of how big it is." Just think if that one became possessed.
I had a
Human sized possession doll.
I had a pink Tweety bird that I won for my daughter down in Orlando. We carried that thing around. Okay, our first guest is here. I guess she got my email, so let's just bring her out and see if she's had
my creepy
no,
doll.
no. Keep those creepy dolls away from me. Hello, Joni. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, I had my ringer off on my phone, so I didn't get your email until I went to call you or write you and say, "Hey, what's going on?" So.
Yeah, well, it literally just happened at Showtime, and I don't even know what it was that happened, but it happened. So
it was the Raggedy Ann doll you have in your basement.
Yeah, it could be. That's
well, I used to be a musician, and I played with some pretty top Latin bands, and we started a show once, and this has happened to me twice. Once a speaker caught fire, a little tiny speaker that was behind me, it caught fire and started setting out sparks. The other time it was an amp. One of my amps caught fire and started putting out smoke. So, is that a paranormal thing?
I don't know if it's paranormal, but it's certainly a close call. Good Lord. Yeah. Well, did you hear her story? Did you happen to hear it? Harley, tell your story. So.
Well, I had a Final Destination near death moment. Because you know how in Final Destination, they all have some near death moment that's like traumatic, like the poles that go through the car and all that. Well, this guy was going through the stoplight today, and his tire completely broke off his car and went like a foot right next to me and then bounced right behind me. And I'm like, Final Destination moment right there.
I'm locking myself in the basement. No, I'm not going out now. Tell me.
Why would you go in the basement? That's where your Raggedy Ann doll is.
Yeah, I'll go look for it. So Joni, we've had you on here before. How the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Really good. Except it's kind of hot out there. I went for a ride today. My bicycle, my tricycle actually, and so it's my second ride of the season, and it's still risking rain, risking hail, and just hot as heck.
Where the heck
That's
are
how it
you?
was for me today. I went to a walk, and on my way home, it was like, hurry, because if not, the rain's gonna pour on you.
Wow.
And then when I get halfway there, the sun comes out and it's really muggy, and I'm like, so I'm sunburnt from the sun.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Joni?
I'm in Denver.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You guys did have some crazy weather. I saw that. So yeah, but you guys are used to crazy weather. So
It's been crazier. I mean, it used to be, May rolls around and I've got bicycle season. But nowadays, the rain can come early. For instance, last week on, I think it was Thursday, I checked the mail, I checked the weather, and it says, oh yeah, 3% chance of rain, 9% chance of rain, 3% chance of rain, 15% chance of rain, and then in the evening starts to go up, 49%. I ride to work, and when I'm at work, someone says, the weather's coming in. I go, I know, it's later this afternoon. I went and rechecked it, and it said, no, in another 2 hours, it was going to be 49%. Then it was going to be 79%. And then we're going to go up to 89% chance of rain. So, it changes.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh,
looks like Joni, Sammy Yo wants to add you.
You have who? Oh, I'm going to ignore him. So, Joni, you have a new book out. Tell us about it.
The Calling of the Grull is the first of a 3-book series. I actually I wrote this book. It was a few years ago, what I did, I didn't write it as a book. I wrote a chapter and released a chapter on Amazon, and every month I released a new chapter on Amazon, and that was working pretty well for me. I was gaining readers. People were waiting for the next chapter, and then halfway through will be the third book, my sales went to zero. And short time later, Amazon came out with this thing called Vella, where they let people put short stories up all the time. So because I did it a month at a time, each chapter is like a whole story. But then I do have certain, common themes going through it. The people, first of all, it occurs about 10,000 BC, 12,000 years ago. And the people, the Grull people, are peaceful people. They live in a valley. Nobody bothers them, and they're like completely ignorant of other tribes or other peoples because, well, for one thing, they're just hard to get to. But they live in this valley, and an unusually bad rain comes and floods the entire valley. And they have to pick up the pieces and as many people as they can save, and they are leaving. And they follow their chieftain, who's got visions from the ancestors. They follow him up to they're heading towards the high mountains, and they experience snow for their first time. And this is actually where the entire idea came from, because I was in a writing group that had a challenge, write 800 words about snow. And so my 800 words was about these people coming across this white soil that when they picked it up, it was cold and it melted and turned into water. A very magical thing to them. And so that's how I started, and I expanded it. As a matter of fact, in the book, I include the original story in the end. But the first book is about man versus nature, and there's some difficult trials ahead of them. Um, there are. This is in the time of saber cats,
Mhm.
and they have to learn how to navigate saber cats, and it doesn't end well for everybody. But it's and it's a lot of action and climbing, but there's also a lot of their religious beliefs in spirits and in um, when somebody dies, you have an opportunity to speak with them before they're gone, and so there's a lot of tragedy that occurs on the road for them.
But that's powerful too, that they get the chance to speak to them before they die.
Actually, it's after they die
Oh,
and
after
before they leave.
Okay, that's powerful though. I mean, and that would
Interesting,
challenge,
though.
and that would challenge their beliefs for that time period. So, yeah, that's yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like the first time to experience snow in having never seen it, or that how did man, how do you put that to words? Because yeah, it's like frozen water, but you don't know it's frozen water. So
And they're discussing, is it sacred? Can we walk across this meadow of sacred soil? Um, and while they're trying to figure this out, they have a child who's running a fever, and someone figures out, if we take some of the sacred soil and we rub it on their forehead, they feel better, and so they can come to the conclusion that this is good, and the spirits wouldn't put this here. The gods wouldn't put it there if they didn't intend for us to cross it.
that is pretty cool. So now you say saber cats. Are there any other, I guess, prehistoric animals or?
Well, I don't believe my people ran across them, but in that time period, we did have mammoths.
Okay. All right. So the first few chapters, you included them in your book, or are they separate on Amazon?
No, the chapters. The only chapter I still have on Amazon is the first chapter. People can read the first chapter, and it's 99 cents, the cheapest I can make it. They can read it, and if they want to see the rest of it, they can, go get the book. But so I think, if I remember right, it's about the first 12 chapters that made up the calling of the Grull.
Okay. Amazon self-publishing, is that how you started this idea? Or, I mean, you said you had an 800-word project, but
well, yeah, and I've been publishing on Amazon since about 2010.
okay. So I always ask everybody that publishes on Amazon, do you like it? Because I've heard yeses and nos.
I would love to like it.
Good. Okay, I'm with you.
I'm trying to find that success, and I've also put my books on Google, but I don't think anyone's seen them. I've hired a publicist to help me find readers, and that is working some. I'm seeing the readers that this month we're pushing 2 books to readers. That's what the publicist is doing, but I'm seeing 3 books that are being sold. So I hope that's a trend. I think I've got about 8 books out there now.
Oh, wow. Well, I remember from before when you were on, you're so multifaceted. You've been in acting, you've been in music, you've been in some form of entertainment your whole life. So
yeah, well, and so was my father. My father, he sang Glee Club with the Elks Club, and when he was singing, I used to go up and sing with him, and I had this innate ability to just harmonize with what he was doing. I couldn't explain it. I could just do it. Same with playing the piano. At 2 years old, I started playing piano.
Did you have formal lessons?
I started formal lessons, I think I was in the 8th grade. And they didn't last very long because the formal lessons were dink dunk dink dunk, and I said, well, okay, listen, and I play some jazz.
And I'm imagining the music instructor wasn't too fond of that.
No, she wanted me to buckle under and
do that. Yeah,
I think they were called the Hannon scales or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Similar story for me. I started taking violin lessons in 7th grade, 6th grade. And that was the same time that Charlie Daniels became so popular. And so I'm at home practicing Charlie Daniels instead of the stuff they want me to. And I got kicked out of music class. So, yeah, but I don't play it. So I'm lucky to play anything. So,
well, I've always had a knack of picking up instruments and being able to play them, except for the trumpet. The trumpet hates me. I could not get real notes out of the trumpet. And it's been decades since I've tried playing a flute, but I could probably get 5 or 6 notes out of a flute. The one instrument I've always wanted to try and never have is either the violin, the viola, or the cello.
I did the bass in and like all the way up through high school, like the big bass.
The upright.
I'm 5 feet tall. Yeah, I'm 5 feet tall, so I was shorter then. So that was fun watching me carry this big ass bass around.
Did you use a step stool?
Yes, I did.
So you had to carry a step stool with you, didn't you?
Yes.
When we were young, we used to do such silly things. But none of my kids took up to music. None of them did, which really kind of bugged me. I wish they had. So, see you, Wendell.
None of mine have. They're all obsessed with video games. I told them they need to get good at that and make money so they can support me if that's what they're obsessed with.
Can you make money in video games? I mean,
there's actual people who go to competition and make thousands and thousands of dollars playing video games.
Who knew? All right.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Salty Dog.
Salty Dog, I need to talk to you off the air, Salty. I got a bone to pick with you. So the other
bone with a dog.
Well, no, it's one of our regular viewers. He has quite the vocabulary and imagination. So he harasses our guests and my co-hosts. But
I'm glad I have to chat off.
It don't bother me, like, because one of my co-hosts, since Glenn's on my co-host, and I have another one who's quite, how do I put it?
Obnoxious.
Well, obnoxious, and
I should qualify. I like Jeremy.
He's got a very.
He's very
vulgar. Yeah, he's vocal and vulgar, and I've worked with him for almost 2 years now, so nothing guests say can faze me.
Well, that's good.
Because I've heard some.
Well, the problem, and this is taken away from Joni's time, but the problem that Salty did is one of my co-host husbands heard it, and she's no longer allowed to co-host. Watch the show. So,
yeah, Joker is unique.
So, yeah, Jeremy's a nice guy. I wasn't mad at him. So, Joni, your other 2 books, are they in the series of this one, or is it a different one altogether?
There, I haven't gotten the second one was scheduled to be put to be re-released. There's another book in front of it that's kind of got it's been delayed. It was supposed to be released on the 4th. And I want to get that one out, and then I'm going to release the second book to the Grull. And the second book, now the first book is Man versus Nature. The second book is Man versus Man. They at the end of the, well, no, maybe I won't tell you the cliffhanger. But they run into other tribes, and it's not all pretty. The third book is partially written. I think I've got maybe 8 chapters written, which means it's close to finished. And that's about the time when the sales went to 0, and I said, okay, I'm going to shelve that and work on something else. But I do plan the book I'm working on right now. I'm going to finish and send it off to my editor before the end of the month. And then when I get her feedback, I might do a little bit more on it, but it'll be coming out this year. And after I finish that, I'm going to go finish the third book to this series.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go do the 5th book to my Magic series.
Yeah, I forgot you had the Magic series out too. So I don't know how you find time to do this. So how do you keep your creative edge as far as, because you're going between books. How do you keep your edge? Do you keep like a log or diary, or is it by the seat of your pants?
No, I don't need to do it. The characters do. I just listen to them, and they guide me to the end of the book.
Okay. Well, you're not the first author to say that. So yeah. Okay.
Oh, good. I'm not the only crazy.
No, I've had several authors say that, and I've had several comic book artists say that. They're like, oh, I start with an idea. I know Bob's going to start here and he's going to finish here, but what happens in between, Bob determines. So I don't think I'm that creative. I have to be a little more structured. So I would have to keep a log of each character.
I do start off with a outline that I tend to follow, but as the characters start having their own ideas, new characters get introduced that weren't in the outline. Things get moved around. The worst case I had was a book that was getting too big. I mean, I was already up around 140,000 words, and I wasn't even to the middle of the story yet. So I started dissecting it and turned it into 2 different books. And that's probably the biggest challenge I've ever faced.
Was dissecting them up?
Yeah, because as I went back to the scenes I'm already 140,000 words. So all the stuff I've written, some of it is leading up to what's going to be in the second book, and some of it's leading up to what's going to still be in the first book. So I had to find ways to take those out and move them across.
Did you have to kill any characters along the way?
No animals were killed in the second of the book.
They were nobody harmed. Yeah. Well, and then, so when you turn this over to your editor, the one you got now, how does your editor, let me think how I want to word this. What kind of relationship or dynamic do you have with your editor? Because I've had some authors say, I get the reply back from my editor and I won't read it for 2 days, or I'll read it and won't say anything to anybody for 2 days. It's like a love-hate relationship. You love them, but you hate them at the same time.
She's new. I've only worked with her once before, and it wasn't to edit the book. It was to help me write query letters and things. And I did that, and they were good. And I got nowhere, and I said, okay, I'm going to continue self-publishing, and I'm going to hire a publicist. So that was that whole train of thought. But she's still somebody I trust. And now I've already done like a dozen revisions where I've gone through it and fixed words and maybe changed something, put things around. Right now, the last revision I'm doing a little bit checking for things that don't make sense. Like I had a couple characters put a cover on their car because the car was bright and easy to see, and they were putting a cover on it so they could hide in the woods. And as I'm going through this on the 12th time, I'm going, wait a minute, they cannot sit in their car and wait for these other guys to come down the road if they've got the cover on the car. So I had to like finagle a few things in there. So, but that's what I'm doing now, and she's going to do basically a proofread.
Okay.
And then she's going to call her publishers and say, you got to see this, and then she's going to call, the movie studio and say, you guys got to see this. That's my thought.
That's her job. So yeah, well, that's every author's dream, is to get onto the big screen.
Yeah.
So, but you've already done stage, so that would be awesome for you.
Actually, my first stage was, let me think back, 1977, I believe. And I took the original script for War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, and I shrunk it down to 12 minutes. And yeah, it went quick. But we performed it on stage as a radio show, and I was playing the organ, the music and stuff, and it was a blast.
I'm sure, but good Lord, how did you condense that down to 12 minutes?
I shortened a lot of reporters' speech.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's the talent. Yeah. So, well, when you said that, as soon as you said that, that did remind me that was theater of the mind, because it was audio. So yeah. Oh,
and we didn't have any commercials. No, actually, that's not true. I think we did have one commercial.
In the 12 minutes. Well, I guess give you a breather. You amaze me every time you come on with you play the instruments. You've been on stage. So have you done radio?
I've been on the radio. I've been, as part of my musical career, we have been interviewed. And on one part, oh gosh, there was one radio jock who liked to get a little outlandish and got himself in trouble sometimes. And he mentioned that I had a striking resemblance to a certain serial killer, and that got him in trouble. In fact, I think he ended up at a different station.
Yeah, that's not a good way to treat your guest. So, well, you're on the radio now. You're on internet radio in Tampa. You're on Right Talk Radio, Left Talk Radio. Jörg's Radio has just started all these new channels, and we're kind of like spreading out to help him get some more listeners. You're on Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio. I think we may even be on the sports channel. I don't know why. And we're also, our newest one, we are on Radio X in Australia, Dare Radio. So right now, it's about 10 o'clock at night. No, 10 o'clock in the morning there. And they're listening to us in Australia, which I don't know why they want to listen to me, but hey, I'm glad they do. So,
well, hi, everybody.
Yeah, you got a big audience tonight. Yeah, this is actually our first show. And when everything went bonkers, I was like, it figures our first show on, go on Radio X in Australia, and boom, it screws up. So, but we worked through it. We got you. So, well, Harley, you haven't said a word. I've been talking too much. I feel like I'm cutting you off when I say something.
No, you're not. I just reading the chat.
Oh, I pay Salty's over there. I see him, but I love him, but I can't highlight his comments. uh, so what do you have? What's next for you?
Well, like I said, I'm finishing up the third book to a series I call the Virus series, and it's about it's a techno intrigue with spies and and you know things going on and 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 computer code and artificial intelligences, and so I'm finishing up the third book. Probably isn't going to make me a lot of friends with certain people, but I think it's going to be a great read. And when I get the feedback from my editor, she goes, no, you went too far.
But sometimes that's the best type of book that does go too far, because it seems to get a lot, like, I've noticed a lot of the books that I read are, some people would say, too far over that line, but those are the books that I seek out, are the books that go too far.
Are you talking spicy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
That shocks me. So, is
It
your
shouldn't shock
spicy or
you.
Joni? Is yours spicy, or are you trying to do something?
Not too spicy, but I am introducing some elements of politics, and I'm not using any names from current. But I started writing this a while back, and the current politics has grown to match what I've been writing for the last 8 months.
Who could have imagined this?
So, but I'm also another thing I'm doing, which is I think is I don't want to say unique, but is special. Is you like to have books where you've got a main character that grows, and by the end of the book he's learned something and he's improved himself. Well, in this book, I have two characters that are growing in completely different ways, and I'm kind of I try to only give the reader hints a little bit here and there, and let you get used to it and grow into it with the characters. So, but that's what comes next.
Sounds pretty
And
awesome.
the first book was called The Mother of All Viruses, which I wrote during the Iran War. Or was it Iraq? One of those.
We've invaded
and
so
the
many.
second
It's
book was
hard
The
to
Queen of
say.
All Viruses. But this was the I finally got a name for it. The Alpha and Omega of all viruses.
Okay,
So
it's the beginning
it'll
and
be
the
the end. I originally thought I was going to write 5 books, and then I realized they're all the same. It's all the same. That somebody does something, attacks the computers on Earth, the navies go crazy, and it's like 5 seconds from mutual destruction, and then somebody saves the day. And I thought, I can't just keep regurgitating that, so I put an end to it.
Okay, so the virus gets everybody in the end, or do they become zombies?
The virus.
Okay. Didn't you say virus? I thought you said
well,
virus.
I was going to tell you, but your audience is so big now.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
Okay. One of the things I'm going to introduce that's not going to be popular with some people is that God has granted this AI, this digital creature, this digital being, granted it a soul.
Okay.
So that's one thing I'm going to introduce, and I'm going to introduce a theory for the universe, for how it begins and how it ends, and then it begins again.
Interesting. Do you use AI now at all?
I use AI in my editing. Like it's like a smart spell checker. So
Yeah, I totally get that. I can't spell, so yeah, I totally get that. It's it's funny you said that. I read an article earlier tonight. I think it was Popular Mechanics, and it was talking about what if aliens, ET, is actually AI, and it had a pretty compelling argument. I was like, huh, I never thought of that, and I'm carrying this little alien around in my pocket.
Well,
yeah.
have you ever gone and
Well,
had a
they
conversation
like
with
to,
your phone in your pocket, and then later on ads for what you're talking about pops up on Facebook or
Mhm. Yeah, your phone stalks you.
almost. My fiance and I have had conversations, and all of a sudden noticed that everything we're saying was popping up in a script on Facebook. Now I was able to delete it and get it all out of there, but yeah, that would have been uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's I think we're going a little too far with it. And like, well, you were talking about politics. How did we get where we are? I mean, it's not just politics, it's AI, it's politics, it's the world. So I think my generation,
Well, yeah,
I,
the question, how do we get here is a good question, but where do we go from here? Um, you know, can we actually survive as a nation if we don't have farm workers? Um,
yeah.
and the notion that we're going to put people who are on Medicaid out there to pick, lettuce is ridiculous.
Come on, they got to get their walkers in gear. We need some corn. Yeah, no, you're right. But then they also do stupid things. Like I saw an interview where one of the top brass said he got off the phone earlier with the soldier on the moon. And I'm thinking, what?
and
Where does
they
that
want to
come
give
from?
everybody who has autism, which this really bothered me because I'm autistic. They want to give us all trackers and a Fitbit and make us wear it.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I hadn't
Yeah.
heard that one, but I'm
And they
autistic
want to start a
also.
registry for everybody who has autism to go onto so they could track us and know where we are.
What? That's
Well,
crazy.
of course, that's because we'll never play baseball. I only played softball. We'll never write a poem. Oh, I've written a lot of poems. What else did he say? Oh, we'll never pay taxes. I have paid so many taxes.
I'm
Yeah.
still paying taxes.
It's
Oh,
two
yeah,
things you
yeah.
do. You die and pay taxes. So hey, speaking, you said poet. Today's Take a Poet to Work Day. So does anybody take you to work? So I saw that earlier.
No,
Sorry, I'm filled with all kinds of stupid little tidbits of facts. So
I am going to call my boss and demand he has to take me to lunch.
that's right. So some people think ET being AI is BS. Just an FYI. I don't
But
know.
I'm in Ohio and we eat the cats and dogs here. Remember that?
Well,
No,
they taste good.
Not really, but that's what they're saying is that's what he said. We eat cats and dogs here.
It tastes like chicken. I don't know. Yeah.
my therapist is a little upset with me that I said, well, my fiance and I are planning on maybe getting a homestead and eating rabbits. And she went, you can't
Rabbits
eat
are
bunny
good
rabbit.
though.
They
Did you
are.
say rabbits?
Now they taste like chicken.
Okay, you said rabbits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I've had rabbit. I'm pretty sure I have, but yeah, okay. All right. Well, you're going to have a lot of rabbits.
That is not hard.
Do you know how much they procreate? Like they reproduce so fast.
One doe will give you 50 bunnies in a year. and you're filling your freezer with organic meat. And if you have 2 does and 1 buck, you'll be giving away rabbit. And if you don't separate the does and the bucks early enough, there's going to be a pair that's going to have babies at only 6 weeks old, and you're going to be, you're going to have rabbits climbing, up the walls. You're going to be, it'll be a swarm.
A lot of rabbits.
This is not a story you envision telling tonight, I'm sure.
No, the homestead thing sounds completely awesome. I would completely live on a homestead, grow my own fruits and vegetables, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, my fiance is already a beekeeper, so.
But it's so much work. That's what my wife wants to do when she retires. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me we're going to leave the city? We live in Atlanta, and we're going to leave the city. We're going to buy this farm, and we're going to have crops and trees and farm animals. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, who's going to be taking care of all this?
I told my husband that when my kids get 18 and they get on their own, we're going to sell our house and buy a farm. And I'm going to have many horses and sheep and goats. And yeah. I want some of those mini horse and then the cows.
Don't think so, Did. You only need to get an acre.
Yeah, exactly.
1 acre.
Get those cows
and basically you're growing a victory farm.
Well,
they're called goats.
Mrs. Sport
No, they have cows that are like, they're big cow, like big and popular right now. I forgot what they're called.
Wait a minute, there's midget cows? No.
Yeah, there's midget cows, but they have like fur on them. Like they have longer hair.
I'm going to be Googling, can you eat midget cow? And I'm going to get
you don't eat them.
All right.
Yeah,
Joni,
I am not going to get a cow that I have to milk, because you have to milk them every day. And,
I did that as a child.
Like 6 or 7 gallons of milk, and I can't drink milk like that.
No. Well, my uncle was a veterinarian, and I would spend summers with him growing up, and I did the chickens, the cows, all that. Yeah, no. That's why I told Mrs. Sportcat, I said, condo in a beach. We only take care of what's inside the condo. Everything else is done for us. We're still discussing this, but we have a few years to go before we have to worry about it. So,
my fiance and I were both already past retirement age. I'm just waiting to, I think I told you before that the system that I work on in IT, we're just waiting for them to finally build the replacement so we can, sunset it and say, you've been good, but dust to dust or something to the computer.
There's a robot somewhere that'll take it over for you. So
Joni, I have a long way for retirement.
I hate to, because we got in here late. It's already 10 o'clock and Doug's backstage, so I need to get to him. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff, and if they want to find you, if they want to get in touch with you, where they can find you, and hopefully you'll come back and see us again when you get your next book.
Yeah. I have a website. It's www.jordanatlargebooks.com. That's www.jordanatlargebooks.com. But it's also very easy to find me on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and look for Jonni Jordyn. Johnny with an I, Jordan with a Y.
All right. Very good. Well, you get back to working on your
books.
Check
out my reviews, because
are they good?
No, say go check my reviews because they are good.
Okay. All right. I don't mind doing that.
We'll have to look you up.
So, yeah, well, I've got tons of books I want to read. I'll add it to my list. Joni, have a great night. Come see us again soon, and get busy working on that other book. It's not going to write itself. So,
and I got to get busy getting those next 2 out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming on. We're glad you're here. So we'll see you soon. All right. Bye. All right. I'm glad she came in. Oh, I guess I may have pushed the button a little too soon. I'm sorry, Joni. I'm glad she came in, even if we were a little bit late. Our next guest, Doug Lawrence. He has written a book that actually sounds pretty dang fascinating because he's talking about the next pandemic could be grief. So let's bring him out. Doug, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks very much.
Sorry, we're running a few minutes behind. We had gremlins. I don't know if you heard me tell Joni, but we had it started a new system and we went live in Australia and everything just went gone.
Technology has a way of doing that.
Gremlins. So.
Yep, gotta love them.
Well, the one tonight was real. I told earlier. I said, "Talk. I got to go punch a kitten." I'm so bad. I'm a perfectionist. So, Doug, tell us a little bit about your background because you are a grief counselor, correct?
Yes, short grief mentor is probably a closer terminology. Yeah, grief counselor would sort of suggest that you've had some formalized training where mine's all come from lived experience.
Okay. All right. So your book, the title of it gets me because you say the next pandemic, grief. Set us up. Tell us about that.
Silent pandemic.
The silent pandemic. It's slippery trying to get away on me. So where this came from was the book before that, You Were Not Alone, touched on mental health and mentoring and how mentoring could play a role in the support structure of mental health. And so I just continued that or carried that theme on. And what had happened was, and it wasn't planned by any stretch of imagination, was that a lot of the content for grief, the silent pandemic, came as a result of the interactions my good wife Deborah and I had, where she ended up in 2021, she lost the battle with cancer. And so I drew a lot of motivation to write the book, but more importantly, a lot of the content came from some of the lived experiences that we went through. And one of the things that stood out the most was that, that was at a time frame when you couldn't even get in the hospital to visit any family members or anything like that. And that was what we were faced with. But what was interesting was that, the COVID was still rampant, and they labeled it with the term that it was a pandemic. And yet, if I counted the number of people that were in the hospital that were going to either were suffering from grief or were going to be suffering from grief, there was no comparison whatsoever. And so I thought, I'm going to write a book so that people get an understanding of what grief is all about and how they need to create a coping strategy to deal with it. And that, we need to help others who are going through that suffering process.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a
long answer.
Yeah. No, that's great, because that was I want to try and think, it was a dark, almost medieval time for us because I worked in public safety. I was a paramedic firefighter, and you're absolutely right. I mean, there were people standing outside of hospital windows with whiteboards communicating with people inside the hospital, and it was sad. And there were people that there were floors we couldn't go on and things nobody but staff could. And you're right. So many people. And it was like a darkness that was just in the air. I mean, It was a very strange time. It was almost like a reset for society, I think, in some ways.
People got depression and never actually healed from it. And
no, you're right.
See, and that's why one of the things we talk about when we talk about dealing with your grief and stuff like that. If you don't process that and take care of it and get it out of here, it's going to just magnify itself that much further than for the next time that you lose a loved one or something like that. It compounds itself, and we need to, as I say to people, are you dealing with grief? Yes. Have you reached out and asked for help? No. Well, then why not? And do you realize that these things are going to happen or could happen to you if you don't take the time and go through it and process the loss, whatever type of loss it is, but whatever's causing you grief and is hampering your healing journey, you need to deal with it, and so that you can, start moving a little further down that pathway.
No, you're right. And us in the medical field or public safety, we kind of just had to suck it up and keep going. So we didn't get to process a lot of it. Salty Dog says the last 2 generations have been pampered from birth. The result has become that anyone under age 30 these days are simply unequipped to handle not only grief, but any minor discomfort. There's a lot of truth there.
I don't exactly agree with that. My daughter's 21 and she is in college, working full time, has her own apartment, handles grief very well, and has never been pampered from anything, and handles everything. Yeah. It's all how your child is raised.
There's that. And like he says, also how you process things.
Well, I mean, and you got to think too, a lot of the generation now from like 2021 up until here recently have been doing everything virtually because of the fact that they could not leave their house. Yeah. So that alone made them where they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know how to do anything that they need to know how to do to function because of the pandemic that hit and stunted everything. Because there was several years that high school graduates couldn't have a graduation. Mm-hmm. They had to do it virtually. My daughter was almost in that generation to where she, luckily it ended right before, but they still had to wear masks to go across the graduation line, but they were they did a virtual prom. How are you going to do a virtual prom? I still don't understand that, but that's a different note.
Yeah.
But that pandemic stunted them.
Yeah.
It really did. And there's a lot of people that are still dealing with that period of time, not just in the ways you're talking about being stunted. I mean, dealing with grief because so many people passed during that time.
Oh, my grandmother passed away from COVID, and my bonus daughter and her mother has long-term COVID. So they always will have that effect, all the effects from it.
Yeah.
The thing I find most alarming is you go to the grocery store and you're standing in line and people are talking about, oh, did you know that Sally passed away? Oh, what did she pass away? Oh, she had cancer, and she put up a good fight and all that. And then you go from there to someplace else and the same story, the same message. And yet we still, where I notice it the most is I'm part of some support groups, and the story is the same no matter where you go or what you're doing or anything like that. The story is the same, and it's the fact that people are grieving, but people don't have the coping mechanisms in place to be able to deal with the grief. And so consequently, just like I said earlier, it compounds itself.
And society makes it very hard to be able to get the help needed for grief and depression and stuff like that, because there's such a big, what's the word? There's a big stipulation. That's not the word. There's a big thing against, people look down. Stigma. If you're saying
stigma
against people with mental health issues and depression, and so they're afraid to reach out for help. I mean, I know personally I have issues, and there's times I'm messaging Glenn and I'm like, hey, I'm having a day. I need to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to know who you can and can't talk to with issues, because you got to worry about, okay, so is this person going to go and talk to this person and make it worse than what it is and tell this person something completely different? So sometimes it makes it hard to go.
And sometimes you're not sure if your conversation with that person triggers some of the darkness that they're dealing with.
Because I mean, like right now, my husband's fighting cancer. He is in that 1% of males who get male breast cancer. And that's very rare, because only like 1% of males get it. And by the time they get it, it's a stage 3 or 4. My husband was a stage 3 when they finally got it, and they removed the tumor. And we're in the process of dealing with all that. And so luckily I have a few friends that I could talk to. Luckily Glenn's one of them, about everything going on, because it's not easy dealing with it when your husband is angry because of this. And he's a veteran, so a lot of his issues he has stem from serving his country.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and there's also chemo brain will make you angry. So
well, he won't have to have chemo. Luckily, they're going to do hormonal therapy.
Okay, good.
Thank God, because I've seen the side effects of it, and my grandfather went through chemo, and he was never the same.
Deborah lasted 3 days. She went for chemo, and they as I said, they sandblasted her with this miracle drug that was going to fix everything, and all it did was it shortened her lifespan by 3 days.
Yeah. I worked in a cancer clinic for a while. I couldn't stay in the I couldn't stay working in a cancer clinic. I had to go back out in the field and deal with that trauma. It was, well, I mean, as a paramedic, I see you for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then I move on to the next one. I've got your stuff on me, but it's only a small portion. I mean, it builds up and you get so many. But when I was working in the cancer clinic, sometimes you would know a patient from anywhere from weeks to months. And you start, you're giving them, because I was one of the ones that would get chemo, you start to say, oh, hey, how's your uncle? How's your son? And you develop a relationship, which is a form of medicine I was never used to. So it really bothered me. But yeah. Salty says, imagine if Americans shut down with grief before, say, penicillin was invented, how many mothers watched their children died from infection. It is my fervent, is that the right word? That grief is now mostly self-indulgence. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I struggle with that.
Well, I mean, there are people that waller, and that's a Southern term, that, get down in it and they don't want to get out of it.
But sometimes they can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, you're right. And then there's, in the mental health field, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Doug, but there's other people, we called it, in my experience, crabbing, where you see somebody about to get better and get out of it, and a relative or a family member or neighbor just pulls them right back down into it. And we called it, in EMS, we called it crabbing, because you're like, man, you were doing so well. You had been, drug free for X and da-da-da. And then boom, so.
It's interesting too, because especially the EMS part, because I think it was in the book You Are Not Alone, I had a bit of an excerpt in there where I had interviewed someone who was working as EMS. And the one thing that she had said that sort of stuck with me, and even to this day, was all she wanted was somebody at the end of the shift to sit down with them and help them decompress, help them go, to be able to say, this is how I'm feeling as a result of my 12-hour shift today, and I'm having a tough time. I'm drifting to the dark side, and I need somebody to pull me back. And she said that was every day. That was just common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they gave us pizza. I mean, honestly, that's what they did. They give us pizza. It's a joke in EMS now. So, here, sorry for your grief. Here's a pizza.
Yeah.
No, and because a lot of people didn't want to look at either PTSD or grief as a medical problem. They wanted to look at it as something you could just brush off and walk on. There are people that can do that. They're not an anomaly, but there are people that can do that. But there's a lot of people who see, whether it's you see a car wreck or whether you have a family member pass, and it gets.
I have an example of that, Glenn.
Yeah, so
I lived in Oklahoma, in Norman, Oklahoma, dead center of Tornado Alley. My husband was a first responder for the May 3rd tornado in Oklahoma that destroyed all the more that was really, really bad in like 1999. Things he saw from that gave him a PTSD to the point every storm season, it was bad. To the point we had to move to Ohio because he could not function from April or however long storm season was with living there.
Yeah.
Oh, people don't realize what your triggers are. I mean, like, for instance, I was taken out of my EMS career by dog attack. Not the way I planned on going out, but you don't always get to pick your battles.
Yeah.
And I think it was the first year off, football season started, and Monday Night Football, if you remember, if either of you are football fans, player got hit really hard on the chest, young kid, and he went into cardiac arrest on the field. And that set me off. Yeah. And it was spiraling down. I mean, luckily, my insurance company, not the city or workers' comp or anybody else, but it was my insurance company that threw lifelines out there to therapy. But, you don't know what it's going to be. I mean, yours is different than hers and is different than mine. And so, there's things that you don't even think about that trigger you. I was up till like 6 a.m. watching every news channel, sports news channel, trying to find out, what had happened, so, and then I couldn't.
I understand that. Like, that's how my husband was for like tornado season. Every computer was on weather. Every TV was on weather. He had everything consisting to weather. And the funny part, my middle son wants to be a meteorologist and a storm chaser.
That's good though. That's good.
Yeah. Well,
my husband was like, he's like, so when you get old enough, we're going to go storm chasing. I don't see my husband doing that, but my middle son since kindergarten has wanted to be a meteorologist and a storm chaser.
He may. I mean, what are some of the ways you suggest in dealing with it, Doug? And then I have a follow-up question about that. I want to know if you've ever worked with hospice.
I have not. No. Short answer, no.
Okay. So what are some of the ways?
I don't think I could do that profession, work with hospice. No.
No, I couldn't.
Those people who work in hospice have big hearts to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Or they drink a lot. So I'm like, yes. I mean,
I found that doesn't work.
It doesn't.
The drinking a lot just doesn't do it.
No, the drinking, drugs, What are some of the best coping methods that you've got experience with?
The one that stands out the most for me is just having somebody that I can talk to. So somebody who will listen and hear. And if they have walked in those shoes before, that they're comfortable enough to be able to share that, and to be able to get the message across that what we talk about is confidential, stays between us, and you can feel, I want to be able to create that safe place for us to have this conversation is a large part of it. So most of it is relationship based, more so than anything else. And when I look back, I think that COVID didn't do me any favors in that it stunted or slowed down the interaction that people wanted to have. No matter who you were, you were basically just kind of pushed off to the side, and life goes on.
No, you're right. It was one of the jokes at EMS that if you died in a car wreck, the autopsy or the death certificate said you died of COVID. Because I mean, they were just rubber stamping because there were so many.
Yeah.
Like the scenes of the victims that were in the bags that they showed that were laying on the ground reminded me of like The Walking Dead in the beginning when they come out and see all the bodies laying there.
Deborah, we weren't married yet, and she unfortunately drew the short straw when I was Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. I was stationed in a small rural community in northern British Columbia, and ended up, there's a whole lot more to the story, but ended up having to had a death by suicide, and ended up having to transport the body in a body bag like you had talked about. So ended up transporting it 8 hours in the middle of winter, 40 below weather, to the closest morgue for an autopsy, and gave you a different perspective on life. And what it was an experience. Deborah got to see what it was like to actually be the wife of a police officer in a small community, and the fact that, albeit maybe just a little bit at the beginning of our relationship, where she got to experience what trauma was all about, and how she was going to have to figure out how she was going to manage it, and on top of it all, provide me with the support I needed.
Society needs to offer more support for that situation, even for like veterans and their spouses, and even their children, because like I know they offer counseling for veterans, but I don't think they realize that the spouse and the children deal with all the effects of the veteran, and then it causes them problems too. That's like police and EMS and firefighters, their spouses and children deal with the effects of what happens to that person too. On top, they need to offer, like that should be automatically offered, some form of counseling for that field work, period.
Yeah, that's a good point that you've raised, because I've noticed that as well. I do mentoring with ACP, American Corporate Partners, and so we're dealing with vets that have most recently come back, but very little effort or time is put into exactly what you said, which is, what services can be offered to, the family members and to the spouse in particular. what services can be offered and how can we go about encouraging that those services are being offered in a time when, when it's needed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
Well, I mean, I know
family
there's been several times that we've gone and they don't even let me go into the for his mental health appointments. And they're like, no, it's confidential. But they don't seem to realize that people with mental health issues aren't exactly going to tell you
No.
everything that's going on. And it's probably better to have their spouse there who sees everything that's going on, because they're the ones that straight up tell you, nope, he's lying. That's not what's going. This is what's going.
That's why we don't take them in.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sport Cat would go, put his ass away. So I joke, but she actually worked in the mental health field for a while she was doing some of her nurse training. But yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. They don't prepare you. And had she not been, speaking about Mrs. Sport Cat, had Beth not been in the health field, I don't know that she could have dealt with it. And there are still stories that I'll say something one day and she's like, I've never heard that. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason. So, and I remember days where I would come home from work after having been up for 40 hours straight, and I would walk into kids' rooms and I would unplug their alarm clocks and they'd find Dad laying on the couch with a bottle of Jack Daniels snoozing. I remember days like that, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Because they don't give you coping skills, and even the jocular atmosphere at the fire station or the EMS station doesn't always lend to it, because the old guys are like, oh, come on, just walk it off. You'll be okay.
But really in the background, they're dealing with their own issues, but they don't want to let anyone know because of the stigma put on it.
Yeah, you're right.
They're supposed to be the guy, the one that can handle everything. And there's such a stigma on all of it that they're the ones that in the end, unfortunately, something horrible happens.
Mm-hmm. It's a sign of weakness, and if we don't deal with that weakness, and the bottle of Jack Daniels, in my case it was a bottle of Scotch whiskey, that only lasts for so long, and then what?
Like my grandfather, he is in Vietnam, and he drank himself to death because of the fact that, well, they offered him mental health, but with the stigma on it, him being a man and being a veteran, he wasn't supposed to let them know he had these issues. And so he drank himself to death. Like, he had cancer in the end. The cancer's what took him. But he drank so much that it affected his kidneys. And the doctor told him, you stop drinking, your kidneys will stop. Basically, it was you're going to die if you quit drinking alcohol now.
And that affects the family.
Yeah.
But, well, luckily, a lot of larger departments now are doing things like in our officer training to where we are kind of trained to see little signs here and there. But if somebody's deep in it, you may not see it.
No. Sadly enough, that's probably that's more of the majority than not. Because even some of the police officers here that are stationed in isolated places, they're not getting the counseling that they need. They've got no one they can turn to at the end of the shift and say, oh my God, I didn't realize if I'd have known that the job entailed this, I probably wouldn't have done it. And yet
that should be part of the training. Like, it should be part of the training to be told up front, hey, this is part of the job. You're going to possibly see this and this and this, and your life's never going to be the same.
Oh, the job changes you. It really does. It changes you. So, and I was a paramedic. Well, I was an EMT and paramedic instructor. And that was one of the things I told students. I said, you may think you know what you're going into, but you don't. And this is your time to get out without any shame. You're going to see, you tell them stories and things, and that's a normal day. and we would have students. I worked for a private school, and the owner would come to me and goes, "You're running off students." I said, "No, I'm saving their life," because they would quit, after hearing some of these stories. And I said, "No, I'm saving their life, because if they can't handle it in class,
they're not going to be able to handle it on the field."
Yeah. So, and it's rough. I mean, and right now, worldwide, we're experiencing a shortage of not just first responders, but medical workers in general, because of the grief, because that nobody helped the COVID people that were locked in deal with it. Yeah. And a lot of people,
they were going home and like having to quarantine in garages, and sometimes not even being able to go home to their families.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And when at the beginning,
and all the deaths that they saw.
Yeah. At the beginning, it was so they were in quarantine us like that. Oh, you came in contact with a patient, you're quarantined. And so I was isolated from my family. I was isolated from my second family. And then towards the end of it, they were realizing they were shutting down whole stations. They're like, "Oh, no, you'll be all right. Just put on this mask, wear gloves. You'll be fine." So, but yeah, so, but it isn't just COVID. I mean, it's mental health.
Grief in general.
And it can come from a multitude of ways. The reason I asked you, Doug, about hospice is I just had an experience with hospice. My aunt entered hospice back in May, June. Maybe. Yeah. And then by the end of June, she had passed away. June. And it was by dementia. And even as a paramedic, I have a hard time figuring out how you went from my normal, healthy Aunt Mary to suddenly this. And I talked to a lot of the hospice people, and they pretty much gave me the same answer as, "Well, that's just the way it is."
That's how my grandfather was, because at the end he had Alzheimer's and dementia, and he didn't even know who my grandma was, and he was married to that woman for 60 plus years.
No, it's just, dementia is a terrible disease. But I mean, as a first responder, I've seen and held many people's hands while they're dying, but this was more intimate, more personal. And I found that dealing with it was almost as if I was dealing with a stranger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I've told my counselor, I said, I don't know that I have ever, if I'm ever going to process it. So maybe I'm weird.
No, you're not at all. It just reminds me of going, my grandma was she was in level 1. So assisted living, right at the top level 1 back then here in Saskatchewan anyhow. And I remember going to see her, and her not knowing who I was, and walking down the hallway of the care home. And who did you say you were again? Oh, I'd like to introduce my grandson to all you good people. And I'm going like, oh, if I make it to that age, just shoot me.
Yes. I told my kids that.
You think, well, it's in Grandma's case, I think she was 101, something like that. She was right around that. So, she'd lived a good life, and, sort of some of the cliches, she lived a good life and all that sort of thing. But the big thing was that, she'd lost some of that ability, the cognitive ability to be able to sort of connect the dots, to be able to say, I think that that's my grandson, but I'm not sure. And I don't want to say any, so you go through a number of different ways of looking at it. But, for family members, going and visiting those who are dealing with, illnesses, old age, whatever, that can be a traumatic experience just by itself.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Like my mom, it tore her up when her sister, her entire life they were together, didn't recognize her, so yeah, I get
That's
that.
why when it got to that last, like right before my grandfather passed, my grandma kept saying, bring the kids to see him. I said, no, he's already gone. That's not my grandfather. And I'm not bringing the kids to traumatize them to see that. I was like, he's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the same sort of thing with my mom's mom, that they told me what she was in the hospital in a bed, and she wasn't doing well. And my last picture of her in my mind was my healthy grandmother joking and laughing and all that sort of stuff. And I had basically said, I have a memory and I want to hang on to that memory. And as a result of that, I'm sorry. And I said it to my mom. I said, I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't force myself to go and see Grandma when I know I have an image in my mind of what she probably looks like. And I don't like that image. I want to hang on to this other one that is more in line with what I remember and what I recall. And that's what I did. And it made it, I don't know, for me, it made a difference. Is it chickening out and sort of, not necessarily putting the right things in the right places at the right time? Is it all of that? Yeah, probably. But still, at the end of the day, I still have memories to this very day of, good times and things, and, 30 some odd people at Grandma's place for Christmas dinner, and, all those being kicked upstairs in her house. Oh, you kids get your ass upstairs, because the adults are drinking. Okay. So kids go upstairs, and yeah, you still have those memories while you can.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of what you just said was coping skills right there.
Yeah.
It really is.
I was not going to go and see him like that. I saw him December 30th. That was the last time I saw him. He passed February 1st, that next February. And he went downhill that fast. And I was like, no, I saw him December 30th. That's who I want to remember. Not the person laid up in the hospice bed.
Yeah. So, Doug, I heard you say this was your second book. What was your first book?
So I've written 3. The first book is The Gift of Mentoring. The second book is You Are Not Alone. And then the third one is this one, Grief, the Silent Pandemic.
Where can your books be found?
So my books, all of them actually, are available on Amazon.com. So www.amazon.
I have to look them up.
Yeah.
I know there's probably some listeners, and I don't know, we're in Australia as well, that could use these type of things, and it's something you can enjoy in this privacy of your own home, and use some of the things you learn from the book to deal with your grief.
That's interesting.
I'm putting the You Are Not Alone in my Amazon shopping cart.
So the You Are Not Alone is the one that it's heightening the awareness that mentoring, the actual technique of mentoring can actually be part of the support structure for mental health. So, because when I look back at my experience with post-traumatic stress, at that particular time point, had I had the exposure to a mentor, even somebody who knew how to listen and hear, and who would, talk me through different situations, the lived experience story, and all of that. That's what that book will do for you. And then this one, Grief, the Silent Pandemic, it takes you a little bit deeper into the world of grief, and it shares some personal stories that, we kind of went through. I had a chap that actually did some editing for me on this one, who had, we just made a connection and I can't remember what the reason, doesn't really matter, but we made a connection. And there is a lot of the things that happen. Like, I'll give you an example. When Deborah was first diagnosed, I in the book, I make reference to sitting on the edge of the bed and the doctor coming in and trying to make a bad situation a little more lighter. But it was at that particular time point, as I say in the book, it was at that particular time point that I realized, I recognized that I was going to lose my wife, Deborah. And, so how a lot of those things, and even editing the book and working on the book was such that it added to the trauma that I was already experiencing as a result of that. And, that's a good point to think about is grief trauma, or is it, the other way around? And if it is, then how do we deal with, how do we process it in order so that it doesn't consume who we are as individuals?
No, and that peer-to-peer counseling it can be such a wonderful tool. The firehouse, we used to say, we're going to sit you down on the bumper and talk to you.
Yeah.
To the rookie, say, all right, we're going to sit on the front bumper and we're going to talk for a minute. And that's where the fire department, you call him the senior guy when you've been there for when all the kids are below you. You're the senior guy. But yeah, you sit them down, you have that front bumper talk. Because you can't unsee some things. So, and that moment you're talking about, I have been with a doctor, working in the oncology clinic, that said that. And I've heard so many patients say it feels like a train just hit me.
Yeah.
And because they instantly, you associate the C word with the D word, and whether not everybody does, but whether or not that's the first thing that comes to mind. And of course, a lot of times if you get it in your mind, that's half of the problem right there.
Well, and that's a good point, for our listeners as well, is that if you think negatively, I had to do this with my mom when she got diagnosed with cancer. And I would phone her at the end of I was RCMP at the time, and I'm driving home to go home. And I would phone Mom every day at 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever it was. And I would just, get her to sort of, we're going to beat this. We can't let it get the best of us. We're going to, and kept doing that. And to be truthfully honest, I think it made a difference. I think me doing that, coupled with a couple of other things, was sufficient enough to extend her time on this earth long enough that she could see her granddaughter get married.
Yeah, positive affirmations, intent. Yeah, there's a lot of power with that. Well, one question, Doug, I like to ask everybody before you get out of here. I guess you saw it in the email. We wouldn't be a paranormal show if we didn't ask you if you had some kind of paranormal experiences in your life, or seen a Bigfoot or anything.
So I've had a mixture. I've had interaction with the spirit world, which came as a result of, Deborah's passing. It seemed to heighten stuff. So, and then I've had, those instances where I would get up and go to the washroom, and in the one bedroom, the light came on, but there was nobody staying in the room. And so the light would be on while I'd go to the bathroom. And then when I turn around and start walking back to the bedroom, the light would go out. And
I always say that's the spirit letting you know they're there, and they're watching over you. Because we used to have a TV that would do that in my daughter's room. When my grandfather passed, the TV would come on whenever she'd go in the room. I was like, that's him saying hello.
Yeah. That's good, because I've been able to deal with the spirits that are coming and visiting, and sometimes it's been a little interesting how they come to visit, and why. I haven't been able to totally figure out why they're there, but they are. But the one where I had mentioned with my mom was I had gotten up and gone to washroom. My whole life centers around going to the washroom, and I can't figure out why. But anyhow, I was having this conversation with this spirit-like body, and they had come to take Mom, and I bargained, had a conversation with them, and got them to allow her the opportunity to stay and to be able to go to her granddaughter's wedding. And then, I even said, if you need to take somebody, take me, which they were determined that it was going to be her. And so she actually got from November until May or June, I think it was, of the next year before she actually passed.
I think dealing with some of this grief probably thinned the veil for you. I think is probably why you were having them experiences. That, and sometimes they say the spirits are just trapped, and they're dealing with a grief they could never let go. So maybe they're coming to you for your mentorship as well.
I always like to think that, because we get phantom smells that we only smell whenever that person was around, or certain things would happen that only would happen when that person was there. Like, we always say that that's that person letting you know that they're watching over you, or they're proud of you. Like when my daughter graduated from high school, she got the phantom smell right after she got off that stage of that smelled like my grandfather. And I was like, that was him telling you he was there, he watched you, and he was proud of you. And so we try to take the positive for paranormal, because my husband's sensitive with paranormal. He's really sensitive. And I'm not, I am, but I'm not, if that makes sense. Like I could sense when something's there, paranormal wise. And I've seen things that I probably, that haunts me to this day, but we try to let our children know that not all paranormal is bad.
Yeah.
Because we don't want them to be afraid of the paranormal.
Oh, that's true. It's not all bad. I mean, there's certainly bad aspects, but there's bad aspects of everything. I mean,
yeah.
There's bad dogs, there's bad people, there's bad everything, so you can't just.
Hey, my husband has seen a vicious paranormal dog that was chasing him.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, that sounds like I need to follow that up.
Yeah.
Well, you were a Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Yes.
Did you ever have any experiences out in the woods with Bigfoot?
No, I didn't. I did.
All right. I was hoping.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. No, I didn't, things didn't shift until and even then I was just trying to think, but I was saying some of the traumatic events and stuff that I ended up going through, largely in part to being stationed in by myself with no support structure. I think my shift, I think there was interaction and stuff that was going on. But for me, I think what happened was after I had a couple of really horrific traumatic events take place, that sort of shifted everything. And I started to get visited more often. I started to experience different types of feelings that somebody else was there, and I couldn't figure out why. And it came to pass as time went on. I did what was the past life regression. I knew it would come to me sooner or later, and I did. I ended up spending a couple hours with a hypnotherapist, and we did past life regression, and that kind of brought a little bit of clarity and stuff to what I was experiencing. And then for the grief part, what I do recommend to people is that if you're really struggling and having a difficult time and you didn't get proper closure, that you should think about spending a little bit of time with a psychic or a medium, and work, and just giving that place of safety for your loved one that you just recently lost, to give them a chance to be able to get their closure, but also for you to get yours as well. That was a long answer.
They do say trauma does open your third eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm sure you saw things on the streets you could never unsee. So yeah, I agree. Well, Doug, we're about to run out of time here. Are you working on another project?
Well, I've got a couple that I'm kind of playing with a little bit. One is it's been suggested that I need to write book number 4. So I'm collecting my thoughts. One of the things, and I throw this out there for your listeners as well, is one of the things that we're talking about is to write a book that speaks to grief, but more importantly to the spiritual aspect of grief, and how, depending on where you are with your spirituality, does that have an impact on how you deal with grief and how you process it. So that's kind of one idea that's floating around out there. The other thing that we're doing on the mentoring side is I have a business partner, and we are working at adding on making the International Certified Journey Mentor more complex by adding in elements of mental health and grief to the certification that we have in existence today, so that people will become more interested in pursuing the certification, but more importantly, will do some additional research on their own to kind of beef up a bit of their own criteria that they need for certification.
Okay. Well, I know we have a lot of public safety people that listen and watch my show, so you might get some takers on that. And if you ever want to interview a crazy paramedic, I know a guy. So
Okay.
well, thank you for your time, and your book is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you wrote this series of books, but I'm even more glad that you took the time to share with us, because like you said, a lot of people don't like to come out and say,
No.
I have a problem. And once we can address the issues, we can maybe not fix the issues, but at least give you coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So,
I have 2 of your books in my Kindle right now.
Yeah.
make
Well,
sure
they
to
were
give
on
them a
Kindle,
review.
so they're on Kindle Unlimited. So
That's actually one more project is we're going to probably August timeframe start to work on a audiobook.
Ooh.
So
ooh, I have to look into that because I'm big on audiobooks.
Yeah.
See, I'm autistic and it's hard for me to focus on books sitting there.
I can't do an audiobook. Audiobook puts me to sleep every time. So I have to read. I don't know why.
See, books
people's
do the
voices.
same to me because I can't, like, I'll start reading and then I'll get distracted and then.
Yeah, ooh, shiny. Yeah, I get it. I do that too.
Yeah.
So. All right, Doug. Well, if
Okay.
anybody reaches out to you, let us know, and I'll send anybody your way if
okay. Thank
they
you.
need some help. But thank you for what you do. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
And have a good evening, or I guess it's evening up there. It's probably later there. So have a good evening. Thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Okay. Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye. All right.
That was really nice talking to him because I'm going to enjoy reading his books.
Well, he is got some incredible stuff there. And anyone that is listening or watching, for that matter, please check him out. And by all means, if you need to cope with some type of grief, address it, get some help. If nothing more than reading his book starts you down that path. So,
Yes, 2 of the 3 are on Kindle Unlimited.
well, there you go. So, I'm not sure who we have next week. I'm a little scatterbrained tonight because nothing is working like it should. But I want to thank Dare Radio in Australia, and to anyone listening, please come over and find us on YouTube, the Sport Cat Shows, and give us a like, a thumbs up, a follow, a share. We really could use it. We're trying to get monetized, so please
and
come
don't
over and
forget
do
the
that.
Asylum with Harley also.
Well, yeah, and there's her
The
too.
Asylum with Harley and Joker.
Yeah. So there's her station or her show too. So she does different things than I do. I do these weird things. So
We do weird things too.
Yeah, it's just not as weird as me though. So, but I'm special. What can I say? We had a great chat tonight, and that was awesome. Even Salty, I love him. I couldn't show some of your comments, Salty, if you're still listening.
Yeah.
But they were noted. They will be filed up here as a funny topical comment. So Chris, as always, thank you for tuning in. KG, thank you for tuning in. To everybody in Australia, Yerg's Radio, thank you guys. Rainbow Radio, we appreciate you for letting us tickle your ears, and we will see you guys. Well, the Sport Cat Daily Gazette is tomorrow, so we'll be live overnight in Australia, so you can hear us there, and of course 1 to 3 Eastern on the East Coast. I have my silly little show. Anything you want to plug, Harley, before we get out of here?
We are doing Saturday, the Craigslist Killer, and tomorrow night, remember, we're talking Big Brother.
Oh my God, I totally forgot that. I needed to pimp that on Australia radio. Yes. Tomorrow night, the big chat, we will be going over the Big Brother US show right after live eviction. So who's it going to be?
Oh my gosh.
I know who I want it to be. So
Yeah, me too. And we will be talking about all the live feeds. Oh my gosh.
oh yeah, I hear you are there for the tea. So, I knew you would be. I told you.
What did you get me hooked on here, Glenn?
It's my summer trailer park trash. So I love Big Brother. So yeah, make sure to check us out tomorrow night. It'll be around 10 o'clock. We will be talking everything Big Brother. And in fact, I recorded the episode, so I got to go watch it. So the Wednesday night episode. It was taped, so we're okay. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.